Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. This is the March 29th, 2016 meeting of the Hanson Board of Selectmen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public announcements and upcoming meetings. Announcements. The Hanson Business Network will meet on Wednesday, April 6th at 7 p.m. in the office of Coletta and Cutler, located at 620 County Road in Hanson, Mass. This meeting will be a networking event. Light refreshments will be served. Please RSVP to Laura Fitzgerald Kemet at lfitzkemet@gmail.com if you are interested in joining the HBN or have any questions. On April 13th, 2016, the Hanson Community Preservation Committee, the CPC, will be holding its annual public forum meeting at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the Hanson Town Hall. We will be highlighting some of the projects that the Hanson Community Preservation Act, the CPA, money funded in 2015, and discussing the CPC master plan that we are drafting for 2016. Committee members will be on hand to discuss CPA and how CPA monies might benefit the housing, open space, historic preservation, and recreational needs of Hanson. Potential grant applications, particularly members of other boards and committees, and the general public are encouraged to attend. Please email at at:/c.
No, it's at CPC Hanson.
At, oh, I thought that was
That's okay.
at cpchanson@gmail.com. With any questions, for more information about Hanson CPA, visit our website at www.hansоncommunitypreservation.org. The fourth annual Epic Youth Battle of the Bands, being held April 15th at 6:30 p.m. in the Whitman-Hanson Regional School Performing Arts Center. Come watch local rock bands compete against one another for cash and bragging rights. Tickets are $10 each and will be sold at the door. If you are interested in participating in this event, please visit our website at www.panthereducationtrust.org for an application. Please contact lfitzkemet@gmail.com with any questions. Nomination papers for the May 21st annual town election are available in the town clerk's office. The deadline for taking out papers is Friday, April 1st. Nomination papers are due to the Hanson Town Clerk's office by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, April 5th. A minimum of 50 certified signatures of registered voters is necessary in order for a candidate's name to be placed on the ballot. The following positions are open: moderator for 1 year, town clerk for 3 years, planning board for 5 years, 3 trustees of Memorial Field for 3 years, 2 trustees of the Public Library for 3 years, 2 Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Committee pre-K through 12 for 3 years, Selectmen for 3 years, Board of Health for 3 years, Tree Warden 3 years, Assessor for 3 years, Cemetery Commissioner for 3 years, and 2 Water Commissioners for 3 years. The following positions still have openings. No one has pulled papers for the Board of Health or Cemetery Commission, 2 trustees of Memorial Field, the Planning Board, and Water Commission. The incumbents have chosen not to run. The Selectman's office will be closed on Friday, April 1st. Town Clerk's office will be closed on Friday, April 7th. Upcoming meetings. Final PCH Reuse Committee, Wednesday, March 30th, at 8:30 a.m. for site walk. Final PCH Reuse Committee, Wednesday, April 30th, 4:30 p.m., Police Station. Open Space Committee, Monday, April 4th, at 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 5th, 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 12th, at 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 19th, at 7 p.m. And Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, April 26th, at 7 p.m. And that concludes our announcements and our upcoming public meetings. That brings us up to the Town Administrator's report, and for that, I will turn to our Town Administrator, Mr. LaCamera.
Mr. Chairman, we received a request from the Plymouth County Control to ask if a representative from the Board of Selectmen could attend a meeting on April 12th at 10 a.m. And what will be discussed is the southern quadrant of Hanson and length and other two topics which directly relate, to Hanson. I'll also provide this information to the Board of Health to make sure that they're aware of it, that they can also send a representative. So I don't know if any member of the Board of Selectmen would like to do that, or let me know.
Okay. So we need a volunteer on the Board of Selectmen.
I'll do it.
Do it?
I'm going to try and make it on.
Okay, so Dawn and Bill have volunteered
Okay,
to attend that meeting.
thank you.
Anyone else?
I want the board to be aware that I did provide a copy of the audit, which primarily includes the management letter, which is in your packet, for your review. The financial statements, are available up at our office if anybody would like to look at those. Those are quite extensive.
Okay.
But one of the things that the audit showed of concern to the auditors is that addressing some of the issues at Camp Kawani having to do with some policies and procedures that aren't being followed. Also, the policies and procedures having to do with procurement for 30B, which is the cheap procurement law. Contracts that need to be approved by the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen. And also a discussion about the issue having to do with constructions of projects and the management of projects that are going on up there. So what I'd like the board to do is request that the commission come in and meet with the Board of Selectmen next week to discuss some of these issues. And I've also asked Jay Tolman if he was available to come in to talk about procurement, policies and procedures.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll schedule that for next Tuesday. Okay, thank you. One of the other things that I know that I've expressed, some concern, as well as Jim McMahon has discussed it with me as well, is that, the town vehicles, that we have here, they're, the Grand Marquis is, both cars we have are former police cruisers, and a lot of miles on it and a lot of use. And the most recent problem that we experienced with with the Grand Marquis is that the fuel tank was leaking, and the fuel tank had to be replaced, which it cost us $600. So one of the concerns that I've had, and I know I've discussed it with a couple of board members over the last, 6 months or so, is that, we really don't have a good, reliable vehicle, for the employees here that work in the town, that go to training and seminars and things like that. Now, all the other departments, whether it's fire and police and highway and so forth, have their vehicles, so that's not an issue. So I know, there's the concern about spending some money, to buy a vehicle, but my recommendation to the board would be for the board to consider, buying a town-owned vehicle. And I looked at two different options. One is a Ford Escape, which is an all-wheel drive, and that's $23,000, which comes with a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Or a Ford Explorer, which is the same thing that we buy for the police department, which is $29,000. So I'd ask the board to consider it because we continue to, pay maintenance on some of these old vehicles that are costing us a lot of money. The other thing is that, we're paying out about $4,000 to $5,000 a year in mileage to the employees for using their own cars. And 90% of that, could be eliminated. So there would actually be, an annual savings as well, going forward.
Now, that would take, we'd have to, if we wanted to do that, we'd have to reopen the warrant.
No, we could add it to the supplemental budget in the special town meeting, so we wouldn't have to open the warrant at
The
all.
supplemental, in the
Yeah.
budget, in the town meeting, okay.
Right,
What's the difference in cost between the two vehicles?
$6,000.
$6,000.
Have you explored possible lease options? Would that be more cost effective? or-
The lease option is not, well, you can lease them. The problem with the leases is that it's 6.5% and 7% for the lease, so it doesn't make sense. I feel like we would have enough available in free cash, to pay for this the one-time, deal, but the lease option is actually pretty expensive.
And both vehicles would be 5-year, 100,000.
5-year, 100,000 mile warranty, yeah.
This wouldn't have to be submitted to the capital improvement committee?
No, it's
under-
not.
under
It's under-
$35,000?
It's under $35,000.
Right, okay.
I don't know, that's just a suggestion, and I know this is not just the current, this has been going on for a number of years. I mean, this is nothing new.
Yeah,
Yep.
And so,
I think we need to do something.
oh, I do too, yeah.
And I think for the difference in the money, the Ford Explorer is a bigger vehicle, it's gonna last longer than an Escape, in my opinion.
Some of our people had to drive out to Sterling.
Well, that's what's happening, is the state has consolidated a lot of these meetings, and most of the meetings now are in central Massachusetts and Sturbridge, because they're coming from the western part of the state, the eastern part of the state, or a lot of times they're out on 495. There's I can't think of the name of the center that they have up there. But so a lot of them are not in the area. They don't have any in the Boston area anymore.
Right.
They used to have more Plymouth County and stuff like that. They don't do that either.
Right.
So, when all the training for the assessors that need to be done, which is ongoing, which is continuous, the treasurer's office has training, and the Board of Health, and, planning and so forth, and they just feel uncomfortable. I don't blame them.
Right.
To drive a car out there and get stuck out there. In fact, we had one of the firefighters that was driving to the academy in, I think it's a Bolton, I believe it was. And it was
Stowe.
using, Stowe, thank you, close. And he was using one of the cars and broke down, so,
Does the town have AAA?
no.
Okay.
We have the highway department. Go get it.
But you want to include this on next week's agenda? You have a chance to
Sure.
to think
That's
about it, come up with the most cost-effective option, and then the board can decide whether it wants to include it in the special.
That's fine.
Is that it, Rich?
That's it. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Rick, and Social Protect. It's in your packet.
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess Mary just
Yeah.
said there was a thank you letter from Southport Tech. Thank you. Having to do, we want to thank the Board of Selectmen for donating the 2 surplus, vehicles to the automotive department, and students will make great use of these vehicles as for hands-on training and learning, so they are working with our previous junk,
These were well-used cars, right?
very well-used cars.
Not to augment the previous.
They were, some of them were in a car accident or whatever.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary. And then we'll talk about the budgets, when we get to the budgets and the capital as well.
Okay.
Okay, does that conclude your report, Rich?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next on the agenda is Class 2 license for Express Auto, 169 Franklin Street. Does everybody have a copy of the application for the Class 2 license in front of them?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to express my concern about issuing this license. This license has not been renewed for 3 years. And unfortunately, an incident occurred where this party that's asking for the license went to a auto dealer auction. And the auto dealer called the town hall to inform us that the owner of the Auto Express took a license that was expired and changed the date.
Altered it, yeah.
And of course, that's illegal. You're not supposed to be doing that. And I know that the state is very upset when somebody goes and changes a license, whereas, you know, they could have applied for the license, and I don't know what the cost of the license is, Mary, off the top of my head.
$100.
It's $100. And I just don't think it's appropriate to renew this license based, this license based upon that.
Was that a criminal offense, Rich, when he did this, or not?
I can't answer that, Jim.
Okay.
Where do the property taxes stand today?
As far as I know, he's updated the property taxes. Now, the board can issue a temporary license if that's what the board wants to do.
Was this is this gentleman here today in the audience?
Yes.
He's right over there.
So, did we have an issue with too many vehicles on the lot? Was that controlled?
Yes, the building inspector also went out to the property and expressed his concern about the condition of the property and so forth, but, and that was as of yesterday. He's been out there a few times. I received a notification from the building inspector and said they inspected the property today, and the owner has cleaned up the property and did everything that Bob had asked him, the building inspector had asked him to do, and is satisfied with the property at this time. And we revisit it again to make sure that it's done and gets completed in a timely manner.
Would you like to make a statement? Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, all I can say is, I had a financial hardship. That's the reason that license was expired out. I didn't renew it. I have to pay $6,000 a month, every month, for the last 20 years. With my hand to God, I pay this every month. I don't even get paid sometimes in the pocket. And I try not to let the property go. So I struggle to make it through. And I went to the auction. I did not change the date on that auction license. I took it off a computer. Somebody else altered that. I was notified by the auction that it was altered, and they told me to get the proper paperwork, which is the license, and we'll put you through the auction. But we can't let an altered piece of paper go through. I didn't change that document.
But how could you even go to the auction?
I went to the auction to bring 4 cars there that I could have sold for $12,000 to pay the property tax.
But how would you sell them if you didn't have a license to sell them?
No, it's not to sell them, it's through the auction we're selling them. I have an auction license, but not, it's a car license he's talking about, the Class 2 license. The one to sell cars to the public. It's not to resell to the auction. I have an auction card in my pocket.
You can still sell cars to the auction.
Yes, you can. You can put it through other people's
I don't believe that's true.
licenses. You can put it, yes, you can run it through other licenses.
I don't believe you can buy and sell cars without a valid,
No, you can't do that in the public, no, but in the auction, you can run it through someone else's dealership. They run it through constantly through other numbers. You just
I'd like
ask them
to-
through numbers.
I'd like to, can I ask, I'd like to ask Mr. Hayes. He sells used cars. Can you answer that question for us?
Technically, you have to have a Class 2 license to do any type of business with automobiles, but there are circumstances probably where he could run a car through someone else's license, keyword, someone else's license, at an auction. But the key to that is someone else's license.
I mean, it says, you know, so he's caught up on his taxes, right?
Yes, he is.
He's got,
$8,000.
right,
Yeah.
and he's done So he's caught up in his taxes, he's cleaned up the lot, the building inspector's happy with it, right?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, Rich, could you tell me again what, as I was reading, what your concerns were?
Well, our concerns was that the license was
Okay.
modified.
I mean, everything's in order, and I don't see what, Kenny, am I wrong that I don't see that?
No, I say
Relevance
if
to-
we're gonna grant this, I think we need to do it temporary.
I had the license for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's the last thing I was gonna do is try to sell cars. I mean, other than that, I'm gonna retire after that. I'm not gonna, I won't be long. It won't be too long, I can guarantee you that. Before the property's either
But
sold.
it was still altered though, sir.
Yeah. Excuse me?
It was still altered though,
Altered?
the license.
I didn't alter the license.
Somebody did.
Somebody did.
Well, why would somebody have a motive to alter your license?
We let a guy from Nigeria come in and take the license, and he said to me, I need to buy cars, I want to ship cars out of the country. I said, okay, you have a license, you have, to show me you're a citizen or legal? He goes, I have, people at the auction know me, I'm well-known. I let him take my license, pay me $500 to rent, in other words, to rent the license so he could buy the cars. And he turned around and he bought a car that I never knew about, and I owed $1,000 to the auction, because he bought the car and never picked it up.
Why would you give him an expired license?
I didn't give him expired, it was active. It was in 2013 when I did this. It was in 2013 that he came by with his father. The father told me he owns a hotel in Nigeria.
So you forgot you gave him the license and you let him run amok for the
No,
next 2
I
years?
took him to the auction with me, not the license, signed him up as a buyer. I signed him as a buyer under my license. For the auction, not to sell cars. He was gonna take those cars with titles and ship them out of the country. And there's many people at the auction doing it on a $100 car license. There's 30 people on one license, I can tell you that, in those lanes. They're not people that own a car lot, you can tell.
I don't worry about what's going on with those people.
I understand.
I worry about what's going on in Hanson.
I pay the taxes in this, I
I
pay my
understand,
taxes.
I understand that.
They don't, some of them.
All right, what's your pleasure? What do you want to do with this?
Mr. Miller, that's it. Is that your name? Look, the guy has a business. We're trying to encourage businesses in the town of Hanson. I understand the issue. I do. I get it, okay? He's saying he's had a hardship. Maybe it was altered for the reasons that you guys were thinking of. Maybe it was altered because of the hardship. I don't know. I don't know. He's caught up on his taxes. He's applied for the license. He's putting everything else in order. If we deny him the license, he's not gonna be able to sell any cars from the lot, right? And then what? Not gonna be able to pay his taxes on the property? I mean, are we supposed to be the judge and jury for that action? Who said that? I don't think so either. So, I mean, maybe that's my fault, but I'd like to give the guy the license, that's my point.
There was I guess be an allegation, so that you altered a license. If you did that, was the only thing that you changed on it was the date?
No, I didn't.
It was the year.
You did not do
I
it.
did not alter that. I took it off a printer off.
There was some
computer.
suggestion about-
All I was showing was a physical address. I was trying to get the 4 cars through to pay the tax. And I shouldn't have did it. I should have just found another way. But $8,000 was a lot of money at the time, and I was sinking in that business.
Well, there was some suggestion about a forgery and uttering. A forgery doesn't apply to what you're talking about. We know what a license is of value.
Right.
You didn't forge your name or anyone else's to it,
No,
so
no, I
therefore
did
it's not
not.
a forgery. You did not utter a forged document to anybody to receive cash or benefits as a result of that. So those topics of allegation are totally off base from information that we got. What I would like to see done is possibly issue a license, continue the matter without a findings for 3 to 6 months, have him come back to us, see how business is going, see how he has effectively and legally operated his business, and hopefully keep them in business if we can, and that's not our job to do.
I don't have one customer that ever made, you can ask anybody I sold a car to, like, nobody ever got dirt from me selling a car. I promise you that. I don't get nobody.
So is this where I'm looking at, Rich, from the documents? I see 2016, it looks different from what it should be 2014, is that correct? Okay. On this document?
It's the actual license that,
This is the actual license 2, class 2, right? Which says this license expires January 1st, 2014. It looks like it's now changed to 2016.
right, the highlighted part, you can tell would have been changed. The dates on that had been 2013. The next page, you can see
Oh, I
what the license
too,
looked like.
February- Yeah, February 5th,
4/13, it expired, and it would expire January 1st, 2014. Those particular dates have been changed.
Gotcha.
It appears you lost your right to tow cars in the town of Hanson because of this. Were you aware of that?
I never even spoke my case to him at all, to the town of Hanson. Never said one word back.
Did you never talk to the police chief about that
No, I
at all?
haven't. I thought it was pretty weird that something would happen in Dayton would be handled in Hanson. If you did something in Dayton, why would you come to the town of Hanson to do that, to throw me off the towing?
But you never tried to fight your case with him and talk to him
No, I
about
was told
it?
to go up there and talk to him. I had other people that wanted to go to the district attorney, or the state attorney, who wanted to talk to them for me, and I told them, "Yeah, what am I gonna do? If they don't, there must be other reasons maybe that they threw me off the towing. Maybe it wasn't just for that reason.
Well, being taken off the towing list
I was on it 20
would be as a
years.
result of poor performance of something of that nature, or not showing up on time.
Maybe I
The
lived
chief has that authority, but this may or may not be a reason to take you off. The licensing is an issue before the board,
That was the
not the
reason.
chief of police.
That was the reason he did it.
But is it required that you have a license to tow cars? No. Anybody can tow cars. See, they do require sometimes a DPU certificate or something of that nature for the trucking business aspect of it, but not necessarily have a dealer's license to tow cars. So that may have been an arbitrary decision by the chief. I don't know why he made that decision. I can't speak
Yeah,
for
I
him.
got a letter, and they didn't want to give me the letter, you know, it's friends of mine that hand me the letter and everything, that's crazy. But I thought maybe it wasn't worth towing anymore after so many years, you know. But I hate to lose it that way. I didn't want to go out like that.
All right, I think we've talked this thing silly at this point. I think we're gonna hear anything. Anybody else, anything else, Rich, or anything?
No, I'm not. I mean, it was modified, so you have a copy of the modification.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
Motion to,
No, I was just gonna say, on this other piece of paper here, it says, if his wife or somebody else applies, we could not deny them. I didn't know if you wanted to have your license, get your wife or somebody else, get it in their name instead of your name.
No, I prefer my name. My name is good. I have a good name.
I'll put it in the form of motion that we make consideration of a continuance without any disposition by the board on that for a period of time to see how he conducts his business. If he's doing it legally and his taxes are up to speed, he can continue to operate it. And then have him come back before us and renew it, you know, for whatever term the license normally would be.
Along with time.
3 months, 6 months, I don't know.
let's do the 6 months.
Licenses.
We can do that,
Does that
right?
sound-
Well, the license actually has an expiration date on it.
Okay.
You can
Yes, it
require
does.
him to come back, but the license is a predated form
Okay.
that says it expires in January 2017.
I mean, look, from what I know it's black and white, and I can't see the highlights that much, but, yeah, it's definitely, somebody went through some pretty extremes to alter the thing. But you know what? I would obviously, whoever did it or whatever did it, I wouldn't do it again because it's so obvious to catch. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth doing it, it's not
I know,
worth
we're still
the trouble.
looking for this guy after today. He never owned up to that.
Okay. So issue the license for 6 months, contingent of any
We can.
problems, and then
Can
come
we
back
do
for
that?
review?
Is
Can we do that?
Well, you can bring him in for a review. I mean,
review
the
rather
license
than-
itself actually has an expiration date, but it's at the board's will. So if the board wants to bring him back in 6 months for a review. You can revoke it at
Wanna do
any
that?
time.
And go by the specific date on the license rather than try to get involved with.
And then a review by the building inspector before he comes in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that he's in compliance with everything the town needs, taxes and all of that. And the issue that he has before the chief, as far as towing, he'd have to readdress that, but it would be the chief's decision. And that normally would be based on performance of the towing, I would think, but I can't speak for the chief on that.
I have a pretty good record on the towing, I can tell you that. I never missed.
Well, that's
Sick or
gonna-
not, I go.
Well, that's gonna hurt you, apparently that's gonna hurt you pretty financially anyways, by not being taken off that
Yes, it
list.
was a lot of money lost, yeah.
So there's a penalty that's been paid.
I have a family to take care of too, just like you people the same way, That hurts.
So do we have to reword the motion, Mary, or can we go with what Bill said? Please, do you need to
Yeah, why
reset?
don't we reword this?
do have
To
to
grant the
reword.
license temporarily for 6 months for review by the building
Yeah.
inspector and the board of selectmen.
Please. Bill, if you made the motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, I mean, yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't wanna hurt your business, sir, but, taking responsibility for what happened, I would have felt a lot easier and just stronger. But I don't wanna hurt your business, so I'm gonna go for it, but, I don't know if I believe that in the guy that we're looking for, I don't know if I believe that. But just taking responsibility would have just felt a little better with me.
You
That's
have
enough
at the
said.
insurance auto auction in Taunton, and they have a license of this guy. I just can't get a hold of him. We don't know where to send the summons to get him to court.
All right,
We
okay.
can't find him. He probably left the country like the rest of, I don't
What he's saying is you
understand
should have taken responsibility for giving him a copy of the license to begin with, and then he forged it. So, I mean,
I
if
trusted
that
him.
hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here talking about this, so.
No, I know, and I really trusted him. I thought he looked like he was sincere to me. His father seemed like a nice guy. I didn't judge him. I thought he was great.
Move to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? One. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on. Dollars for scholars. The Hanson, we received this notice from the Hanson Dollars for Scholars. Whitman Hanson Dollars for Scholars is asking the Board of Selectmen to declare April as Dollars for Scholars Month. Over the past 80 years, this declaration has assisted our organization in publicizing our events and activities and helped us substantially in our fundraising success. Thank you for consideration, and please find a sample of the proclamation attached. Whereas Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars has been awarding the scholarships to deserving students from Whitman and Hanson for 53 years, and when Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars has awarded $2.1 million to over 3,000 students, and whereas Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars is a community-funded based nonprofit organization which receives support from residents, businesses, and community organizations, and whereas Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars offers non-restricted scholarships open to qualified secondary school graduates from both private and public schools living in the towns of Whitman and Hanson, and whereas Dollars for Scholars is currently appealing to Whitman and Hanson residents through their annual fundraising campaign. Now therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen in the town of Hanson, hereby proclaim the month of April as Dollars for Scholars Month, and urge the residents of business and businesses and recognize the support of Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars and work with what they do. Sign this 29th day of March 2016, Hanson Board of Selectmen. So I'd entertain a vote to declare April as Dollars for Scholars
So
Month.
moved.
Second.
Sorry, Kenny.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second one is the request to erect an annual fundraising thermometer on the town hall green. So I need a motion that would be on there for approximately 6 to 8 weeks.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to grant permission to erect the fundraising thermometer for Dollars for Scholars. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is to grant permission for the opening day parade, April 19th, for the Hanson Little League.
April 9th.
April 9th, the Hanson Little League.
My opinion.
Okay.
So moved.
You read this?
Can baseball utilize Town Hall Green, April 9th at noon for the opening day parade? That's from Robbie O'Brien, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Entertain a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now for Green Hanson, annual cleanups day is Saturday, April 2nd. So, are they looking for permission to use the Town Hall Green for that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So that's usually an annual event. That's from 9 AM to 11:30 AM. This coming Saturday, April 2, 2016. So get your boots and your gloves and come on down and help us clean up the town of Hanson. I usually take Route 27. Which route did you take last year?
I took down along Whitman Street.
Yeah, and I noticed 27 needs it again, 14 needs a lot of work, so we can use all the volunteers down there that we can. So I'd entertain a motion to allow Green Hanson to use the Town Hall Green from 9 AM to 11:30 PM on Saturday, April 2nd, 2016.
So moved.
Clean up, green up day.
Second.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Richard LaCamera, the resignations. I'll read this letter into the record. Is that okay, Rich?
Do whatever you like.
Either way, you're not staying, huh?
Town Administrator,
That's day.
Search Committee, Town Hall. This is from, wait a minute, I got the wrong one here. Is there a letter in here?
No, it's,
I'm being appointed to something
No,
else
it's
temporarily.
last week.
That's,
That's just-
yeah,
that
that's
was
not
last-
his resignation, Bruce.
Oh,
We got that last week.
so this is to accept his resignation to the as town representative to Mayflower
this is his appointment. We're
Municipal-
appointing him as a representative to the
Municipal
Mayflower
Health
Group.
Group.
Mr. Chairman, the town treasurer is unable to attend this meeting. She usually attends this meeting, and she can't because of personal reasons. And it's important that we have a representative at the Mayflower Municipal Health Group meeting, because they're gonna be voting on a rate increase of 15%, which is something that none of us are happy about.
That's not good.
So it's important that we have a representative at that meeting, so I will go and represent the town.
What day is it, Rich?
It's Thursday, April 7th.
You need a ride?
I need a ride.
Want to use a town vehicle?
We don't have one yet.
I've never used any of the town vehicles, and I haven't charged the town anything on mileage either, just so you know.
That's why we're gonna miss him.
Okay. So we need entertain a motion to accept the resignation.
So moved.
Except as representative for the Mayflower.
This is, he's
Municipal
gonna
Health.
represent Mayflower.
Yeah,
Read this.
Oh,
we don't have a choice but to accept his resignation.
I don't wanna, yeah,
I'm stuck on the resignation. I can't get over it.
it's because it says appointments,
appointment.
resignations.
This is an appointment. Give me
Okay.
one more thing to do before I
Accept the
go.
appointment before he goes.
All right, how about this? A motion to appoint interim town administrator to represent the Mayflower Municipal Health Group.
Rich LaCamera, yes.
Sounds
I
good.
second it.
Sounds good. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's get on this.
Help you out a little bit, Bruce.
Thank you. Thanks for the help. Need all the help I can get.
Take heat off.
Okay.
It'll be 12 degrees. Now that you leave, you can mess with the thermostat.
You all set?
Just a second. Now, next on the agenda is the vote for the position of town administrator. I'd just like to say this in advance of that. This was a process that started quite a long time ago. It started with the departure of the former town administrator and the hiring of a very capable and experienced interim town administrator, Mr. LaCamera. And 2 attempts of the search committee to review and research and interview and find enough excellent and qualified candidates to present to the Board of Selectmen for final consideration. It has come down now to the final 2 in the selection process, the next town administrator, and hopefully someone who will be with us for a long, long time. This is a selection process that has to be taken seriously. The magnitude and the powers of the town administrator and the crucial role that he or she plays in keeping the wheels of town government running smoothly and effectively and responsibly on a daily basis cannot be understated. So I'm sure each and every board member has taken the time to weigh all the facts, review the experience of the job requirements, and very seriously, and consider these very seriously for both of these excellent candidates before making this decision. I did do some reference checks on these 2 individuals, and I did the reference checks on Mr. McHugh, and I assigned Mr. McGann to do the reference checks on Sarah Smith. And we have the results of our reference checks, and I'll read mine to the board. Results of reference checks. A variety of questions were asked to both the references supplied by the candidates as well as various town officials and employees of the towns and former towns in which they have worked. There are a list of 12 possible questions depending on the obvious relationships with the candidates and the degree to which they have been able to answer those respective questions, depending on those relationships. All references I interviewed in relation to Mr. McHugh had nothing but positive praise about his non-micromanagement style and his ability to work with people as a town administrator. Also, there was high praise for his negotiation skills, his ability to perform under stress, and dealing with difficult individuals. And also praise was his calm but decisive and effective manner in dealing with difficult situations, including reprimands, firings, and even violations of the law. And holding people accountable while at the same time commanding their respect and knowing both the powers of the office as well as the limitations of the office of town administrator. I also asked about his working relationship with the school department, as in some instances, as we know, it is obvious that the town versus school positions on the limitations of funds can at times be adversarial rather than cooperative and productive. This question was answered forthright and honestly with great praise for Mr. McHugh's skills at keeping things calm, clear, and on the right track to ensure as much as possible a cooperative and positive relationship between the school side and the town side on the financial equation. Finally, all references where applicable were short and positive about Mr. McHugh's ability in all the important areas of town government outlined in the Town Administrator Act, and that he be a turnkey choice, the town administrator, in his ability to handle and do a great job for us in all respects of his role as town administrator, including, and I included this in the question, so that they knew what I was talking about. Procurement officer, personnel director, chief negotiator on all collective bargaining agreements, resolving grievances, and planning, reviewing, and recommending all department budgets to selectmen and the finance committee to come before town meeting. His attendance, punctuality, and dependability aspects of prior employment all met with positive responses. One interesting response in this aspect of his employment came from one of his former superiors, who said that he at times had to remind him that it was time for him to consider taking some of his vacation days and get away from his commitment to the town for a while. That's basically all I have regarding Mr. McHugh. And I'll turn to Mr. McGann for his responses on Sarah Smith.
My write-up is a bit longer, so, longer than Bruce's, that's pretty. Okay, so as Bruce indicated, 12 questions were asked of both references, all the references supplied by the candidates, as well as various town officials and employees of the towns and former towns in which they may have worked with. However, it's important to know that the questions we asked were the same to each and every reference. So we had a list of questions, and we asked each one of them the same on both sides, okay? And that was to keep it as fair and even keel. All references for Ms. Smith also were nothing but praise and what a positive influence she has among them, the references, her peers, supervisor, and subordinates. She has a strong collaborative style, well-defined organizational skills, and a great ability to explain and summarize information and break it into pieces and chunks and explain it to all levels, parents, teachers, and professionals. Sarah is always cordial and respectful to the people she deals with, and especially within stressful situations, is very calm, as you can well imagine from an MSBA and West Bridgewater School building, with the tasks associated in getting that project underway and completed successfully. She is strong with regard to her handling good and bad situations, a quick learner, and will not be led around while having a great tendency to get things done. She replies to all questions asked of her in a turnaround time of no more than 1 day. That was the general consensus from the references. Ms. Smith was also the only candidate, I want to remind this board, to have only 3 letter references attached to her resume already, one of which was from Town Hall Contacts, in which it was noted, "I have found her to be extremely diligent, thorough, and professional. Her communication skills are superb. She works very well with all department heads. Her greatest asset is that she's a team player, and although on the school committee side, understands and respects the fact that there is a limited amount of funds where every department needs to be adequately supported. She has a strong and thorough knowledge of accounting field, budgeting, and extremely skilled in information technology, finance, and all aspects of issues dealing with the Department of Education. Although Ms. Smith is more involved with school matters as the school business manager, because that's her current role, her work with town officials brings the consensus of all references that she could do the job of the town administrator without issue or concern. Any learning curve points in the new role as town administrator would be minimal. This was stated by several references, as some of these would certainly apply to both candidates. That is, a learning curve to both candidates would be applied. Ms. Smith has been on time and present to all school committee meetings. All reference checks indicated that they would be sad to see her go, but understand her desire for new challenges. Overall, Ms. Smith is a modest person of high quality, intelligence, character, and integrity, and we, the town of Hanson, would be fortunate to have her in our organization.
Very good, thanks. Anybody else have any comments, questions? All right. Ready to go? Yeah, I'll just tell you who, should we just go around and I'll tell you who my choice is, and then other people can say what their choice is? Is that okay? All right. I would just say this. Keep in mind that after the first failed attempt at finding enough candidates, we rewrote the job advertisement and increased the salary range from 100 to 120,000. And at the same time, in that job ad, we put emphasis on the excellent fringe benefit package offered by the town of Hanson in an effort to attract the best candidates and superior candidates we could find. And we were successful in doing just that. With that said, personally, I want to make my final choice as a Board of Selectmen member as secure as possible in the fact that we are selecting the right and the best possible candidate for that office. Someone who is the best of the best, with the best overall municipal management skills, and also with the honesty, dedication, commitment to do the job that needs to be done. As the Chief Administrative Operating Officer of the town of Hanson. And after weighing all of those factors, my choice would be Michael McHugh of the town of Mansfield, present town administrator in the town of Rochester. I wish the absolute best, however we vote, to Sarah Smith, our finalist, and an excellent candidate for this position. In her first attempt at becoming town administrator, she made it to the final two, which is no small accomplishment in itself.
Somebody want to go? Somebody else?
Anybody else?
Yeah. In reviewing, both the resumes, they both did a good job. They did a good job, very well, at our interviews, and everything that was asked of them, they all answered in a very candid fashion. I lean personally towards someone with more experience. So therefore, I would vote for Mr. McHugh to be our new town administrator.
Okay. Does anybody else want to say anything, or?
Could I?
Yes.
I know I gave the, my personal, I really struggled with both candidates. I know that, I know Sarah's experience. What I liked about her was the fact that she came to 2 selectmen meetings. I think that's terrific. I think that shows her a lot of, I know some people may not think it's a good idea or whatever, but I liked it. I thought it was a great idea. She has a tendency to kind of take chances, which is a good thing. And I don't think she's just a typical in-the-box type of person. I think she has a great attitude. I like the way she conducts herself. She's come up and introduced herself to us, I think, one of the meetings prior to the selection. But I do think if you're looking at the resume, you're looking at the experience, I think it goes back to what Bill said, and the difference between the jobs. If I'm not mistaken, obviously as town administrator for the town of Hanson, you don't have to, obviously you have to understand budgets with regard to the school and so forth. But I think when it comes to experience, obviously, Mr. McHugh has it as current town administrator for Rochester. He was the town administrator for Avon. He was also on the Board of Selectmen, so he has an idea of what it's like to be a selectman. I really wanted, I think if we go the route, if Sarah doesn't get this job or whatever, I think it would be, I would hope that maybe she would obtain more experience in her role with town government. I think based on those 2 differences alone, I would probably go for the best candidate for the town of Hanson would be Mr. McHugh.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody want to make a motion?
Well, I won't make a motion, but I was kind of leaning towards Sarah for the simple fact she's new, she's young, she's vibrant. I think she'd make a good candidate for the town of Hanson. Not only she would learn as time goes along with the town of Hanson. And if I had a chance to vote right now, I'd probably vote for Sarah.
Thanks.
It's a tough choice, Bill, I know.
I know it is. Very.
Kenny?
I'll make a motion to accept Michael McHugh as our new town administrator.
Second?
Pending
Pending.
final background check and negotiation of a successful contract.
Okay. Did you get the second part?
Motion and a second?
Are we supposed to read the finalist background screening thing? Is this why this is here?
That's next.
That's an applicant
That's
from an investigating company, and I think we have some others that we have to look at also
Okay.
before we do that, as quickly as we can. Would that be fair to say?
Okay. All those in favor, Michael McHugh?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Okay, all those opposed? Okay, thank you. 4-1 vote. Discuss firm, now we're gonna discuss the firm to conduct a background check on the town administrator choice. You have more experience in that. You wanna cover this one?
Yeah, I didn't, there's a paper here before us from a Gleason Associates, an experienced firm that does that. There was another firm, I think I gave you the card for that, that had an interest in, they're actually a private detective firm, if we want to reach to that direction, and they do full background
They would do
checks.
that.
They do
They would do
what's
it
called
with
CORI, criminal record information checks. They also, if we want to reach out to that extent, go and talk to neighbors, people in the towns, talk about, all of the, I should say all, the different issues that may come up, as far as their professional employment and academic and degree verification, that sort of thing. And I don't know to what extent the board might want to proceed as to the extent of the background check.
The query's already been done.
The query has already been done, my understanding? I have you.
Yes, it has.
It has, okay, so that, and both candidates, to your understanding, were okay?
I can't comment on that.
Okay. Well, we can't comment if there was something, we can comment if there wasn't.
I won't comment on anything.
Thank you, sir.
To do with the Curry check, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, we don't want to violate anyone's rights in doing something like that. But
Do we know the cost of these?
Do you have a question?
we'd have to determine the cost from the two different companies that are available to do that.
Well, I think you gotta do
Gleason-
more than a query. You should do an extensive background check
Right.
on a town administrator.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the options that Bill has put in front of you, I mean, the option 1 and 2 are pretty extensive, which will take an extended period of time to get done. Certainly, you want to do a nationwide criminal, civil, financial search, on the individual.
Right.
What this company proposes to do is references and stuff like that. I don't think that's necessary unless you want to go any further. The other thing that you might want to do is, do professional employment, verification to make sure that, the resume complies to, what the person says.
That's
And-
pretty easy.
I mean, other than that, I'm not sure you really do want to do anything else unless the board wants them to do an extensive reference check.
I don't really think that's necessary, knowing where the individual's from and where he's been. I mean, that's,
It's up to you.
so which option are you talking about?
Option 3 there.
Yeah, I would say option 2.
Because option 2 consists of 5 background items found in option 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yes. So then in option 2, Kenny, you're
So-
asking to do
so it's the difference
professional
is the-
reference interviews?
Yeah, so no, that's what the difference is, okay.
That's the difference between the 2 and the 3.
I was looking at the top, the 5 background items. I'd be fine with option 3.
You want to make a motion to that effect?
To who we're gonna,
Yeah.
this is a particular firm. I would make a motion that we recommend Mr. Corner's firm. I don't have the card before me. Do you have that?
I don't have it in front of me.
No.
Go up and-
Did you want to submit to do it?
It was just to ask a question, if I can.
She had a general question.
Just a general question, doing with the background check.
Sure.
Because it is a government agency, I'm familiar with them. I know that now some agencies have been enforced, besides the Corys, to do fingerprinting, because Cory is only limited to Massachusetts, whereas fingerprinting is now nationwide. Is that something that has been enforced through your establishment?
Fingerprinting,
I don't see that option on here.
I don't know if that is something that would have to be volunteered by the candidate, or whether it's something you could ask them, or she, or he to do.
No, I'm just saying it's just another step that some departments within the government are now enforcing when you hire someone. I was just wondering if this is.
Yeah, even the most comprehensive one on here doesn't have fingerprints.
doesn't even offer it.
Yeah.
I know it's coming down the line, eventually they will, but I guess they're hitting other agencies first.
Oh, thanks for that, it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So what's your motion, Bill? For
The-
the firm and for the option?
The firm of Mr. Connors he's the private detective agency. I didn't put that in my folder, the name of his company. I didn't know we were going to be
who is
discussing the
this one here?
companies tonight.
That's just an example.
He actually,
Those are the
We got
different
this during the
options.
search. This
Yeah.
came to Kenny McCormick during the search.
yeah, that should be
Okay.
stated out loud. This actually came to Ken McCormick, chairman of the search committee, right?
So they knew he was searching, so they knew they were gonna need.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So,
I didn't know we were
so
gonna
do you want us
discuss
to
that
pick like an
tonight. I
option,
didn't have the
option
idea.
3?
Well, we want to get started with.
Yeah, we're gonna, I think option 2 is gonna be the best, but are we gonna go with this company or?
Not necessarily, no.
Not necessarily.
Bill is recommending a company who happens to be local here in the town of Hanson, so.
Okay.
They're actually in Norwell.
Excuse me,
He's
the
a
gentleman
retired-
lives in
Yeah, he's a
Hanson,
retired
excuse.
lieutenant from Haverhill PD. He has his own private detective agency and does, security, executive protection, and background type things like this also.
Okay.
What's the ballpark price on this type of check, do we know?
It's probably a couple grand.
Is it?
Well, that's.
He indicated, based on the scope of what we wanted, it could be 1,000 or less.
Well, I would give him this option 2 scope. Which was minimal.
If he's gonna do option 1, all 8 background checks for 1,000, then let him go.
I don't think anybody's gonna pass
That's
option 1.
overkill. So is that
Nationwide
your motion?
criminal.
What's the experience?
Yeah, and I apologize to the board. I didn't know we were going to discuss the candidates for that this evening, so, but the other company
Let's see what it really is.
would be my
We
recommendation.
can start it on-
Just
I agree.
All right.
So which option was
I
it?
studied all 4 of them.
Option 2.
Okay.
I'm sorry, option 3. So we're gonna go with option 3.
All right. Do you have any further discussion? Did you have a second on that?
No.
Second. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
We're going option 3, express background check, nationwide criminal, civil, financial search, professional employment verification, academic or degree
So yeah, give him
confirmation,
that, tell him that's what we want.
nationwide media news
Yeah.
and public data search.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
which member of the Board of Selectmen is gonna handle this process?
Bill, I think.
I'll volunteer, I'll
Scott?
handle it if that's...
Mr. Scott?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
Logical. It's a logical choice.
It makes sense.
All right, now we're up to the budget update.
I don't know if you want, Mr. Chairman, it's entirely up to the board, is that there's a number of people waiting here to discuss the 2.5 override, I believe. I don't know if you want to go right
Oh,
to
you want to
that.
move forward with that?
That's up to you, but I mean,
Mr. Hayes is meeting with the FinCom right now, so I think
We hold it.
he'd like to be here.
You want to hold for him? Sure.
We have a...
Yeah, we can do that.
okay.
Budget update.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee this evening is actually making their recommendations to the budget for Article 5, and the Board of Selectmen, along with the Town Administrator, is supposed to do the same, and those numbers get presented, to town meeting, and the moderator would read the Finance Committee's recommendations, for town meeting, and then, of course, town meeting votes on it. So I have provided the information, the summary information for the board for each of the line items, in the budget, each sections of the budget, I should say, which is broken out by salaries and expenses. And we're certainly not going to do this tonight,
Yeah,
but what we need to do is get this finalized by next week, by next Tuesday night. So I would ask the board to take their budget books and
Yep.
review the budgets and express any concerns that you may have about any budget items, between now and next week, so either we can discuss them, and then we'll go through and make the recommendations based upon the proposed budget that's being proposed.
And will the finance committee be here next week with us?
They will be meeting, I could ask them,
Yeah,
You can do it
if you'd like.
Yeah.
Sure.
Please.
That's not a problem. Okay, so the same thing applies, having to do with the town meeting warrant. You have copies of the special town meeting, which has been reviewed by myself and the finance committee and town council, and then maybe some minor adjustments that need to be made. But once again, we need to finalize, the town meeting and get it ready to go, because we have to get it signed by the Board of Selectmen the following Tuesday, and then it has to be posted right away within the next couple of days after that. So there's a lot of work to be done over the next couple of weeks. So the other thing I just want to point out is that I met with the Capital Improvement Committee last night about the plan, and we reviewed everything, and I think they're prepared to put that plan together and present it, and we should be getting that as well. I think he said by the end of the week, if I'm not mistaken, thereabouts, yeah. And then I'll have a copy of that for the board, to review, and then we can talk about that plan. And then we're gonna talk about the funding sources for those items that are included, in the capital plan next Tuesday night
Next Tuesday night.
as well. Okay? So, once again, you have the most updated town warrant, and please, if everybody gets a chance, because Mary and I certainly aren't perfect, Mary's more perfect than me, that to make sure that there's no problems with any of the wording and any issues having to do with the warrant, and as I said, town council is in the process of reviewing these warrant articles as well.
So you'll see that's in your packet, there are a couple of articles, pages of articles that have been updated.
Yeah, I saw
So,
those.
those will be inserted in the warrant.
So these are to replace what we have in our packet?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so you got the one for Article 12, which is the, I see that, okay.
I reviewed the
12, 16, and 19, Mary, those are the ones?
Those have been updated, yes.
Article 12, I reviewed with the business manager and the facilities manager, and these are the exact amounts that are being proposed, for these 3 projects.
Okay,
And I also discussed it with the town of Whitman to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what the numbers are, and then we'll determine how they're gonna be funded and what's gonna be funded.
Okay. And this is Hanson's share, right?
This is Hanson's share, which is 41% of the total cost.
that's for the repair of the tennis courts, repair of walkway and main gym entrance.
The bleacher
Replace
chairlift.
bleacher chairlift, and that's all at the high school.
That's correct.
Total of $99,738. All from free cash.
I think I should explain Article 16 and 19 so everybody understands why that had to be changed.
Okay.
Article 16 had to do with the initial project stage and project review for the McQuon Street Route 19 reconstruction project, okay? Originally, the article said that it was part of the $3 million cost of the project, which is going to be funded 90% by the state and the federal government. And we have to do the $45,000 initial design on our own. So the article was modified to do that first phase of the project. So that's Article 16, so that's why it was changed. Okay?
Okay,
Article 19 has to do with the water mains. Unfortunately, when the capital improvement plan was presented to town meeting last year, somehow, between the capital improvement committee and the water commission, there was a misunderstanding as to how it should be presented in the plan, and instead of putting the $1.3 million in the first year of the plan, it got spread over a 5-year plan, a 5-year period. And unfortunately, we're borrowing the $1.3 million all up front. So what this article is doing is rescinding the article for the annual, from Article 25 of the May 2015 annual town meeting, and revoting it to make sure that it's correct. And the reason why this had to be done is because the bonding company needs to know what the improvement was, the approval was of this process, and unfortunately, it wasn't done correctly. So that's Article 19.
Okay. I noticed Mr. Hayes has returned.
Just getting to the
Right
hard just getting to the hard questions.
timing-
She's rescued me.
Your timing was uncanny. Okay. So with that, we can move to the,
Did we have something on this item? Did you want to talk about this too?
Which one?
no,
This
that's.
is-
the
We're
school
talking
office.
about right now.
We're gonna talk right now.
We're gonna talk about that right now. Okay, get some information on this.
This is, it's, you got it.
Let me start at the beginning here, because, let me go back to May 17th on this if I could, because we received notice from the Whitman Hanson Regional School Committee, actually the treasurer of the Whitman Hanson Regional School District. This letter serves as a notification that on May 16, 2016, the Whitman Hanson Regional School District Committee voted to certify the fiscal 2017 budget in accordance with pre-K through 12 Whitman Hanson Regional School District Agreement, Section 4, Paragraph D and E of Mass General Laws, Section 71, Section 16B, and section at $49,714,344. That was, I just know off the top of my head, that was a 8.8% increase over the prior year's approved budget. And also approving the fiscal year 2017 assessments as outlined below. The total operating assessment of $21,675,552 to be shared by the towns is based on student enrollment for October 1 of the current year. The operating assessment for the town of Hanson is $8,956,207. The operating assessment for the town of Whitman is $12,719,345. The $21,675,552 represented a 20.2 increase overall from last year's assessment. The Hanson assessments are as follows. Again, Hanson's operating assessment, $8,956,207. That's for the operating assessment. For non-mandated busing, $96,280. The capital technology, that was for Hanson's share of the upgrade of all the computerization at the all schools in the district. That was Hanson's share for this year is $133,617.75. And capital for the payment of the bond, remainder of the bond on the high school for this year was $344,254. With the operating assessment of $8,956,207, from what I understand, Rich, the town is able to afford on the actual budget article under line 5, a 3.5% increase over last year's assessment on that.
That is correct, yes.
But the remainder of the items, to fund the items needed for the student success budget, which generated the need for an override, resulted in an override situation, meaning that portion of the school assessment, which would exceed the limitations of Proposition 2.5, was $1,241,000, what was the actual amount? $1,241,141.
141. Mr. Chairman, just a clarification. The
Yes.
total requested from the school committee's share for the town of Hanson is $8,956,207, and we're proposing, the finance committee is proposing a 3.5% increase over last year, which is $7,715,066, and the difference of the $1,241,141 is the override.
Right, okay. With that in mind, I really wanted to talk about, discuss the options and possible vote to place the 2.5 override article and question on the warrant and the ballot. As Mr. Hayes correctly stated at the school committee meeting, the responsibility of the school committee is to vote and certify the budget and the assessments to the two towns. It's a responsibility of the two towns on how they want to place that article on the ballot in accordance with Chapter 59, Section 21C, and there's a subsection there too as well, which basically makes for some reason, makes the Board of Selectmen the appropriating authority and not the town meeting for the placement of ballot questions. It also gives the Board of Selectmen various options as to how those ballot questions may be placed. And so let me just review for the board. I'll try to be quick, because those options are all spelled out. If you go online and you call up Mass Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services, Proposition 2.5 ballot questions. Okay? It's pretty lengthy. I think a copy of this is included in the packet, Mary?
Yes.
Yes. So it's 27 pages long, and it tells you everything you ever wanted to know about Proposition 2.5 ballot questions and the various options that the Board of Selectmen have in placing those questions on the ballot. So I went through and I tried to summarize this, and I actually wanted to make sure I was right on this, and these are the options that I came up with, and I've reviewed this with town council, and I'll tell you what town council said after I review these. The Whitman-Hanson Regional School Committee recently approved and certified their school budget and assessments for the town of Hanson. The result of this certified assessment, which is 20.2% above last year's for the two towns of Whitman and Hanson, in order to fully fund last year of the proposed assessment, will produce the need for a $1,241,000 override in Hanson. I have some questions, and it appears from the DOI guidelines that the Board of Selectmen, as the appropriating authority, have several options. I just need these confirmed so we are on the same page. Number one, the Board of Selectmen can reject putting the override on the amount of the ballot, thus killing the measure at this stage. Two, we can vote to put the full amount of the override proposal on the ballot, bypassing any town meeting action. Three, We can vote to have a contingent appropriation article. This is what we normally do. We can vote to have a contingent appropriation article on the town meeting warrant, contingent on a successful vote of a ballot question at the annual town election. 3, it also appears that the selectmen have the ability to actually reduce the amount of the proposed override amount and place the lesser amount on the ballot. 5, it appears that the selectmen can include in the ballot questions the uses that the school committee intends to use the additional monies for. Those uses are outlined on page 52 of the Whitman Hanson Regional School Budget under Student Success Budget. 6, are the selectmen able to use, I asked, the selectmen able to use any of the approaches for wording and purposes for the amounts of the override as outlined on pages 19, 20, and 21 of the DOR guidelines. Those approaches are broken down. I'll make it easy. There's a menu approach, okay, in almost all instances. At this point, we're not really sure if we can use, I double-checked this with our town attorney, whether you can use a menu approach for Whitman Hanson regional schools, because we ordinarily, we do not vote on the budget, we vote on the assessment. And under Chapter 71, it's the elected school committee who has the authority to choose which way they want to spend the money that's budgeted and the money that they receive as the assessments from the cities and towns. So I'm having them double-check that issue as far as the menu option, because I'm not really sure that menu option applies to the override question. The other one is a tiered menu, which would eliminate any references to what the people may want to spend the money on. But it could give the people a choice as to whether they want to spend, for example, if you had question 1, would you like to spend $1,241,000 as the addition to the tax levy in excess of Proposition 2.5? Part B, would you like to spend $800,000? Would you like to spend $400,000? Would you like to spend $200,000? Those are just examples. So technically, you could give people a tiered approach rather than saying, you know, here's the whole ball of wax. Do you want to spend $2,241,000 or nothing? Or do you only think you can afford to spend $800,000, $600,000, $400,000? That appears to be a legitimate option for any kind of an override, even for the Whitman Hanson Regional School System. So the other thing I would say is this. And I asked him this question. I said, given the problems that we had with the last debt exclusion and the $59 million school demolition, we need to approach this with a complete and accurate picture of what the selectmen can and can't do in relationship to the proposed assessment and subsequent override. And I know that Chapter 71 regional schools and Chapter 59 Section 21 both come into play here. So he is checking on 3 issues for me. First issue, as to whether the selectmen can in fact take an override question directly to the ballot without running it through town meeting. We know we can do that on the debt exclusion side, because on the debt exclusion side, as we found out 2 years ago, under Chapter 71, the appropriating authority for a debt exclusion is actually the school committee, not the town meeting. And the appropriating authority to take it to a ballot question becomes the selectmen. So they can, as we found out 2 years ago, take it directly to the ballot and bypass town meeting. Does that also hold true for an override? We're finding that out. If you read this, you come to the conclusion, yeah, it does, but this sometimes does not say everything that it should say. So we're checking that out with town council, and we should have an answer within a week. And I just wanted the Board of Selectmen to be aware of those options and what those options are, okay? We have plenty of time to resolve this because we don't have to come up with the wording for a ballot question until 35 days prior to the election. So, rather than rush to judgment at this point, I just wanted to discuss what the possible options were and where this board feels they may like to go with those options, if all those options are available. Do you have any comments, Mr. McGann? Mr. Howard?
I think from, I've gotten a lot of calls from this, and I know that there's obviously a lot of concern with it. One of the things that bothers me, and I'll be blunt and honest with everybody, is that I don't think it's gonna pass in the town of Hanson. I just don't. And I think, although with all the hard work that the school committee did, I do respect what they did, but I personally don't like the all-or-nothing approach. I think it's too risky, that you're not gonna get anything on this measure for our students. For example, I know full-day kindergarten is some people consider it a want versus a need. But I mean, honestly, if you think about things like both parents working in the same house to afford and pay for their bills, I know for a fact that when my 3 kids went through our school system, I had to pay for full-day kindergarten, and I certainly can understand the costs associated with that, and it's a tough choice, I get it. But like something like that, I feel very strongly about getting done in our school systems. I'd like to see that measure be there and available for them. And if we put that item with all these other items and we don't get it, we lose out on it. And that bothers me. So I've looked at the pyramid approach that Bruce is talking about, and there's, again, as he indicated, if you look up this Proposition 2.5 ballot questions, if you guys go online and look it up, or I don't know if you will probably can't get a copy of this one here, but, I mean, they give examples on what the pyramid method would be, or the menu method. It seems pretty reasonable and rational. I like it. I don't feel comfortable that the entire measure is gonna pass, and that bothers me, because I think ultimately, I think who loses is our kids and the students. But I also question some items on here on whether they would actually contribute to student success. My own personal struggles would be district security, and I know we spoke about it, and obviously safety and security resources, add and replace cameras, card access, Be Safe program. I see those as capital items, but I also understand that, well, to me personally, I don't see how they would actually contribute to student success. Okay? So what's my point? I personally would like to see us go through a measure of having each item voted on to see if it would pass. I think there are a lot of good items on here that would and have a good chance of passing. And I think something's better than nothing.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yes.
Before you start, Bob, thank you. I think we need to clarify a few things, before everybody starts questioning,
We're going to get those clarified.
No, but I think that the board and the school committee needs to understand that the school committee has already voted a budget.
I understand
of
that.
that budget,
Yeah.
okay? That budget is being presented to town meeting the way it is,
Mhm.
okay? Unless they vote to lower that amount
Right.
before town meeting.
Yeah,
which
no question about it.
I don't think that they are, going to do that.
No.
That's me, okay?
They voted 10 to
So
0.
they-
I think
So
they're
they've
pretty...
presented a budget to both towns, and both towns' assessment are based upon the percentage of students and so forth and so on, that routine. So it's my understanding that both towns are going to agree, and they may know more than I do, that the towns are gonna support the 3.5% level funded budget,
Yeah, right.
I believe, okay? I can't speak for Whitman, but that's my understanding. So, assuming that both towns vote that 3.5% entry, that part of the assessment is locked in as far as the the assessments for both towns.
Correct.
Okay? If either town votes lesser of the two, then it's rejected, and then it goes back to the school committee to look at that, to revote it. I don't believe that's gonna be the case, but you never know what happens at town meeting.
Never know how one town votes and how the other towns
So
vote.
the difference between what the school committee had voted and the assessments the town are going to approve is, we know what our share is, 1,241,141,
Yep.
141. And the article that's being presented both in Whitman and being discussed here is contingent, upon an override.
It's the
So-
contingent appropriation approach.
Either
right?
town votes that down, and then it's dead right there. Doesn't go any further, okay? Because the next part of that article is the ballot question that would be put on the ballot for each town, okay? So that's pretty simple. And if it gets rejected, then it goes back to the school committee. The school committee can decide to reduce the budget or bring it back to the towns within 30 days, and the towns will be required to have another special town meeting, to address that.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So now you talk about the different tier structures or funding this and funding that.
Yes.
Whitman, I've got Whitman's, article that's being, I assume it's gonna be voted on, but I don't know. This is what I'm told. That their article is contingent upon their share of the override, which is 17 something, whatever the
Sure,
number is.
right.
So if the town of Hanson decides that, well, we're gonna support this, but not this and not that, it's defeated. The ballot defeats the override article. So you're gonna go back to the school committee,
Right.
and then the school committee's gotta decide whether they wanna accept a lower amount.
Wouldn't be the first
we-
time.
I'm just trying to explain the
Just
process,
telling
so
you.
everybody,
It's happened before.
understands
It's happened before.
how this all works, okay? Because a lot of those options that are in this 2.5 ballot question only apply to local school districts. They don't apply to regional school districts, so you gotta be careful.
That's why I'm having Jay check those.
Right, so
Yep.
most of the options having to do with the tiered structure or fund this and fund that doesn't work at the regional school district unless the school committee accepts a lower amount. So I just want everybody to aware what the
He
process
was
is.
quite confident that the tier structure did apply, but he was pretty confident that the menu option would not apply, for the same reasons that I said, okay? That it's up to the school committee to decide where the money is spent, not the town meeting or or the ballot question, okay? So I don't think there's any disagreement on that, on the menu side, but I have to hear what Jay has to say. And the other thing we was unsure of is whether it could go directly to the ballot, whether this Board of Selectmen wants to consider that and eliminate any discussion at town meeting, go directly to the ballot. That'll be up to this Board of Selectmen if that holds.
But the problem that you have is that you got two towns doing two different things, okay?
I don't have any control over, we don't have any control over.
No, I'm just
Whitman
trying to
does.
point it out, Bruce.
If we were all one
what's
Board
gonna
of Select,
happen.
if we were all one Board of Selectmen, that,
Okay.
that wouldn't be a problem. But we're
Great,
not.
Bob, I'm sorry.
Mr. Hayes,
Thanks, Bruce. We contacted the attorneys for the school district, and I'm going to give you some copies. It might help along in this process as we're moving forward for this week,
sure.
to try and get some of this stuff done. I'll read you back what we wrote. As of our conversation of this morning, I've attached section 34 of chapter 71. Note the second section, which explicitly provides a town meeting must act on the total budget and is prohibited from allocating among accounts or placing any restrictions on the appropriated amounts. Let me know if you need anything in the future. So he said,
That was town meeting, right?
this is the.
That's what he says about town meeting.
No, that's what he says about the tiered structure.
The tiered structure.
In other words, the school committee has voted the budget.
Where does it say that about the tiered structure?
I'm going to give you this one. So what he's saying is, the school committee has voted the amount.
Oh, this is his, okay, section 34. fund shall be defined to provide more money for the support of the public schools and is appropriated by the vote of the legislative body of the city.
The 4 pages.
The cities or town appropriated by the appropriation.
Are you giving me them all? Are you giving me them all? These 4 pages.
That's what the town meeting says. Thank you. The voters.
So what's different? Everybody else?
Thank you.
Did you get one?
Superintendent of schools in any school district may address the local appropriating authority prior to any action of the school budget as recommended. Initial adoption by the school committee. Treasurer of
So
the,
Bob, where did you read from? What section? Can you tell me?
well, he's got a lot of paperwork there.
Here it is. Is it under, if a local appropriating authority votes to appropriate a lower amount than
Oh,
the assessment?
603?
603B?
603B. Is that what he's reading? If a local appropriating authority,
You passed out the email, I have the email. He was
Votes
reading
to-
from section 34, chapter 71, section 34, the paragraph at the very bottom is what he quotes.
oh, the vote,
Right where you found it.
the vote of the legislative body? Is that part, Mary?
Yes.
No, I needed the email that he wrote.
Which part? The vote of the legislative
Yeah, right
body,
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes, that's what he,
Oh, and this one.
second section of 34.
Explicitly provide that the town meeting must act in. I think some of the reasoning.
Yeah, the town meeting, I don't have any problem with it. It's a valid question.
Right.
Well, we were talking about the manual. Part of the issue, I think, that what happens is, with all due respect to everyone
Yeah,
doing this, there is a school committee in place that's elected for a reason.
I understand that. I already
There is a
explained it.
leadership team that comes up with all of the amounts, we'll say, we'll just use, for example, the student success budget.
Correct.
So regardless of what's thought about, this is the budget that's presented. I think the vote has to be up or down, or Jim would say, his Jim's approach was all or nothing type of vote. Whether we like it, or we can stomach it, or it's palatable or not. It's a budget that was presented and voted on by the elected body. And I think that's the way it has to go, and I think that's what the letter the attorney's referring to. So when Jay gets back,
Yeah,
if you guys are gonna meet again next week,
yes.
we can maybe have a little bit better handle on it. These particular attorneys are school-type attorneys, that's all that they do.
Yes.
I'm not saying they're right, you know, we've been through this at town meeting before,
See,
when we
the
had some
problem-
attorneys that
The
worked for
problem
the town.
with this
for a
thing,
while.
it doesn't really address regional school committees. Yes, Mr. Egan,
I've had a little bit of experience in this area.
I'm sure you have.
All right. If I can put it very concisely, the school committee determines how to spend the money.
I
It's the
said that
role
a
of the
couple
board of
of times.
selectmen to determine how to get the money. You can't do what Jim was saying about tiering and making choices, we'd like to do this and this. That is not the role of a Proposition 2.5 override. You can't do that.
It says it
Sure.
here in the Proposition 2.5 guide.
It says that, but it doesn't say that about regional schools. Regional schools
No.
are treated far differently than a school department within a town. So you have to be aware of that issue, that I believe when you get your attorney's feedback, you're gonna find that you don't have the right to make a determination as to how monies are spent. That's
No, I-
the school committee's thing.
I said that-
And you don't have a right, you can
Jim.
vote yes or no on the bottom line, and that's the only role you have.
I reiterated that at the beginning of this
Okay, so I
discussion.
mean,
Okay,
the
you're just
menu thing
reiterating
won't
what I
work.
just said. And I totally agree with you, because under Chapter 71, Section 16, that is the right of the school committee to spend the
Right.
money however they want. And so I question, like you, I question the menu aspect as to
Yeah.
whether that's legal. And that's why I've got the town attorney to, I
if I-
don't know if the tiered effect on the ballot question Yes, we can do that or not. I'm not sure about that.
The other thing, in terms of a ballot question in and of itself going
Right.
through town meeting or not,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to go through town meeting.
right.
The selectmen are the only people who can initiate and place on the ballot.
That's the way I read
Prop
it.
2.5 override.
Yeah,
And I
Yeah.
think those options that he read were regard to what's going to on the ballot, am I right?
Yes?
Not what's being done at town meeting.
Right,
I think
exactly.
we're in
but you
agreement with what's being done on town meeting.
You can't, okay.
Okay.
When your lawyer gets back to you, I'm sure he's gonna indicate to you that you don't have the right to make a determination as to how the monies are spent or what kinds of monies are spent. So the tiering thing, you'll find won't work.
yeah, the menu is as opposed to
Yeah,
tiering.
that
Yeah,
won't,
yeah.
you don't have the right to do that. You
No,
only
I
have the
totally-
right to figure out how to get the money if the question is voted in the affirmative.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on the menu.
Okay.
menu.
So on the menu item, I'd like to see things like the additional, you know, math specialist, reading specialist for the kindergarten. So we would group it that way.
You may not,
You may not be able to.
We'll
Find out.
That's what you can't do.
Mr. Hayes.
The menu's out,
Yeah.
Bruce,
sounds like.
are you guys reconvening next Tuesday?
Yes, we will.
Do we have enough time,
Yeah,
planning next Tuesday forward, and we could reconvene then, when we have more information? to
well,
make
of course, yes, that's what I intend to
We
do.
could be,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, so
Yeah.
everybody's on the same page?
yes,
Next Tuesday's the drop dead day.
yes, it
Because
is.
we have to
Have
have
to
it.
do it. I
The
recognize
board
that.
has to approve it, so we
Yeah.
get ready for the ballot.
That's right.
You know,
Because
and
you
so
have to do
forth.
that within 35
So-
days of the election.
Just, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Jay Tollerman, Town Council, is going to be here for another issue as well.
great. Yes, yes, you will be, yes. So that's perfect. We'll have the town attorney here, and we'll get this all resolved as to what the options are. Yeah,
Bruce,
yes,
if I may, should maybe, just for the sake of time, we get Jay Talman and Mr. Toomey together before that meeting, where it is a deadline meeting. If they can't hash out the differences, and you guys are on a deadline next Tuesday, that could be a problem. Maybe if we get them together Thursday and convene us executively or something, and we can all sit around and hash this out and come up with a clear and concise thing for the people of the town next Tuesday. Does that make any sense to you?
how about a sumo wrestling match, and whoever wins, that's where we'll go?
Mud wrestling.
Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Could I'd just like to add one thing, that I think it's important for the Board of Selectmen to think about as we're going through all these considerations. The current budget that we have right now for FY 2016 is not even a level service budget. Our budget this year is up a 0.1% from last year's budget. What we had often done in the past is we would present a budget that would have included many of the items that are in the student success budget. But when we would present it, there was no way that we were going to be able to get it funded. So we would cut and cut and cut and cut. So the budget we have for FY16, as we know, had to eliminate library positions and among other things. Mr. McGann brought up the issue of wondering if the safety and security piece should be a part of a student success budget. These are the more everyday kind of supplies rather than large capital items that we really haven't even been able to buy because of a budget that isn't even level service. And I would contend that if students can't go to school in safe and secure environments, they are not going to be as available to learning as if we have these things in place. So that is the reason that is part of the student success budget. That's a 3.5% increase in assessment. That's a level service budget. That moves the district at least at a piece of standing still. In the past, we've been going back. So clearly, we had to take a different approach, and that's why it's being presented as it is.
I understand.
But a lot of thought's gone into this. This is not something that we thought was just a good idea and we threw it on the list. That's clearly not what happened. So
A lot of people have been involved in that, I can.
they truly have, and we also did a survey out to all district staff, and it's a compilation of a lot of their input. These things are research-based. We can provide anybody with background information. The other concern, of course, is target share, which we've talked about this before. We did contact Roger Hatch at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. If this budget, or when this budget is passed, that would include the students, the entire budget, level service plus the items and students, because the towns would meet target share. And that would be also a great step forward, I think, for Whitman and for Hanson. and for
Also, in
Whitman.
this, you should reiterate, as long as you say that that does not absolutely guarantee that the town is going to get more Chapter 70 funds.
I don't think it does, absolutely, I would never say that, but I also
I
think
just
it
don't want to
makes
give
it,
people a false impression that
it
that's
makes
the
it
case.
more likely, certainly you're not gonna get it if you don't meet target share, I think that's, and the district gets a tremendous amount of money, way more so than average
Yeah,
from
I understand
Chapter
that.
70
Yeah.
anyway, but clearly, it shows that both towns are meeting the standard that the state has set for them. And that's a positive, whatever.
Yes.
So Bruce, just to ask you and ask the board, again, do you want to work directly with me so you can get these attorneys together and maybe have
Yeah.
some sort of a meeting? Because I think if we
Because
could
you're
be in
gonna- you know
trouble if we
what's
wait
gonna
till
happen.
Tuesday night,
You-
because they won't be able to do any more
You get
research.
conflicting opinions on what the law really says.
You know they don't.
Yeah. So,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
When would you like to do it? And I'll try to get Mr. Toomey on the phone in the morning.
all right. Can you give Jay a call and see if he'll get together with, are you going to be, or you want me to do it?
Thursday?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you want my cell phone number so you can call me and see?
Sure, you can just give it to me, don't give it out.
Oh, I don't. I'll give it everybody, 617.
I asked Jay that, those three issues that I had, I asked him to take a look at. and see-
0189.
See if those options were A, available, not available, because it's a regional school district. And so he's gonna get back to us on that, and at the same time, he can discuss those
I just,
with Attorney Toomey.
let's work it out and see where we can go, and I think everybody's on the same page, we just gotta work together on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that I'm supposed to get the two lawyers together, or do you two want to be part of that conversation?
Yeah, I think we should be part of it.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, is any time available on Thursday, okay?
I'll make time.
Yeah, I'll be available.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good.
I appreciate your input.
Did we ever, on the class size reduction item for the 8 elementary teachers, did we figure out which schools and how many?
I have worked with the elementary principals on that, I could give you that information separately, but yeah, absolutely,
I'd like to, I think it should be something ready for town meeting, something, all right?
yeah.
I think the hardest thing the hardest thing on this is if the student population in Hanson has gone down and we're hiring more teachers, how do you rationalize
I
that?
have got graphs that will show you that Whitman Hanson is near the very end in terms of student-teacher ratio. I can provide you with that information as well. We have lost enrollment, but we've also lost staff, and it has not been proportionate.
Is it 16.9 or 17?
No,
Per?
but that's an average, that's not what,
That's
I mean, that's based on very small classes for kids with special needs and also very large classes. But we've got backups on all of that information.
Yeah, because that's what, if you go into the ESE, if you go into classrooms, professional teachers, and the ratio,
Yes,
it says 16.9
That's-
with Hanson.
yes. But the state average, I mean, and it's taking in very small special ed classes, very large classes as well.
Oh, it's an
State
average.
average is
It's an
around 14.
It's an average.
It's an average.
Yeah.
But I can provide you information of that will show you Whitman Hanson is a real outlier in terms of that, even in spite of, actually, enrollment's gone up by 41 since October 1st.
And I'm assuming those figures were compiled by the state from the figures that were sent by the school districts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I can give you all of that.
We have all the information.
As I said, this list was done with a lot of thought.
I don't think anybody
This is
pulled them
not-
out of the sky. I don't think anybody pulled them out of the sky.
Absolutely
Would
not.
not. They don't allow us.
It's just that when we look at the page 52 item, I was noticing and able to see that, so for reading specialists, math specialists, we were able to determine where those teachers are going, right?
And we can do it for elementary. We've done it. I mean, I
Okay.
just don't have, I don't want to give it to you without it written out.
Okay.
Super, okay, we all set?
We're good. We'll be
You all
talking
set?
tomorrow.
Anybody have a question?
Wednesday, Thursday. Thank you, Rich.
Questions, comments? Yes, this gentleman here, stand and state your name, please.
Well, 93 High Street. I just want to know if this override passes, it will stay on the budget forever?
What's that?
If this override passes, it will remain on the budget forever?
Yes, an override is the gift that keeps on giving.
All right.
Year after year, and it compounds at 2.5% a year forever.
Okay, and how much will that cost the average home?
I think according to Mr. Hayes, it was somewhere between 300 and 500, about 300 on a
300.
average home of around 300,000, and then you went up to
It was
$450.
$1.04, I believe,
Per
per
thousand.
thousand
Yep,
in Hanson, and $1.24
yes,
per thousand in Whitman on your assessment.
right.
So for an average taxpayer to look at their tax bill, if you look at your tax bill, it states right out what your assessment is. So if you had a $200,000 house that was assessed at $200,000 and you just multiplied it by 1.04,
Yep,
you would come up with approximately what that's gonna cost you a year, and it'd be in the 200 and change.
I watched your meeting, you were terrific, you were transparent, you gave those numbers right out there, you kept repeating them, you know? It was great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So that's, if that helps you at all, you have to look at your tax bill.
Oh,
If
Rich,
you wanna know, I mean,
It's
probably
okay,
you
I
can
was-
figure that
I was-
probably tonight. I looked at mine, figured it out, 1.04. Right in that vicinity, I could figure.
Ridiculous.
yes, sir.
I'm Chuck Hyatt from State Street.
Yes, Mr. Hyatt?
Yes,
Yes.
one of the Hyatts.
Not the hotel, not the hotel.
No, I wish it was.
Yeah,
Be on vacation now. Oh, now I lost my train. Oh, yeah, okay. Now, that 2.5, right? That's forever?
Yes, sir.
We don't have a say saying like 10 years down the road that we want to flip it over?
well, you could have an underride, but it's a very rare animal. An
Yeah,
underride
that's
is,
kind of
a-
ridiculous.
an
isn't it?
underride is a very rare animal, seldom happens,
I never heard of that before.
yeah.
That's, I guess you better vote it down, huh?
No, you have a price on education.
Yes, Mr. Campbell?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Joe Campbell, 150 Woodbine Ave. I would have to ask the school committee then, do you see costs going down in the future for the school departments?
Never does.
Why would it?
If there were less students, I would think maybe yes.
There's a lot of things that are contractual with built-in increases, and there's a lot of things that you have very little control over, like health insurance for one, that you never know what that's gonna be. Some of the other expenses, you can gauge it on inflation, but those things like pensions, what's gonna happen to pensions in the future, what's gonna happen to group insurance?
Playing into it, Bruce.
Yeah, right.
OPEB's playing
The
into it.
cost, oil can spike up one year, go down the next. You had a negative inflation this year, you could have 4 or 5% the next, who knows?
It's like a snowstorm.
Yeah,
You have a large one, it's a couple $100,000 off, plugged into the budget, cleaning it up. Savings the town. It's the same issue.
okay, great. Anybody else have a comment? Anybody?
I'd like to make a quick
Yes.
comment. You know, there's a lot of rhetoric that goes back and forth. There's a lot of opinions as to whether we can afford it or cannot afford it. And then we early on with the school issue, we had the argument about maybe a few hundred people at a town meeting shouldn't make that ultimate decision, that it ultimately should go to the voters. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm not necessarily have it on town meeting, but my wife and I chose to put our sons both through college, and we paid for it. People have got to think, this is great, we all want to support education, but if they're thinking about putting their kids through college, do they want to be pouring more and more money into the school system? And we all know that we've got to provide as quality education as we can for our children, but it doesn't end at high school. It ends with their future towards college. So those are all things I think that people have to take into consideration when they may or may not want to vote for this particular project. I'm not going to comment how I would vote, but I really think it's up to the people, and I mean all the people, to get all the information they can and then ultimately
Yeah.
make that vote.
Right.
I would love to ultimately see all the people vote. As I've said, you know my point, I've been going to these town meetings for 30 years. Let the people vote.
The people make the ultimate decision. It isn't
Let 'em
the,
vote.
I keep telling these people, if you look at the chart of organization of a town, okay, at the very top of that organization chart, if you know organization chart for a corporation and municipality, you know it's at the very top of that chart? It's the voters. Not the Board of Selectmen, not the school committee, not the various departments, but the voters. So, and I always say that municipal government is the purest form of democracy. Why? Because you can go to the town meeting and you're responsible for your tax increases or you're lowering your taxes because you have complete control over what you vote at town meeting to appropriate the funds. You can make amendments to lower them. You can't make amendments to increase them, but you can make amendments to lower them on all articles, on all budgets coming before the board. And in this particular case, you go to the ballot box and make the final decision on whether you want to raise your taxes or not, and whether it's for a worthy cause. So that's it.
I even think you can make amendments to increase them, because I've seen it done about 30 years.
I have seen them done. There's certain ones that you can go down, but you
have to
can't go
go to
up.
another budget to see how to fund it.
Yeah, see how to fund it. You need a place to grab money from.
So
Yeah,
it is a purest form of government.
right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll talk again.
Okay.
Thanks for your help, Bob, and the other thing.
Go ahead. No problem. He's a wicked nice guy, talk to him about that.
Good night, thank
Good
you.
night.
Right, Ruth.
Good night.
I don't think there's any difference in what we said about what's going on for town meeting. And from what,
No,
and
it's
from what Jay
bullshit.
said.
Bunch of baloney.
Well, it's not.
It's got nothing to do with town. It's got nothing to do with ballot
It's nothing
questions
to
or
do with
tea.
ballot, yeah.
Teeth the chattering.
So,
It's got nothing to do with it.
so then this still applies?
Yeah.
2.5.
Yeah, of course it does.
So, and 2.5 says that we can do menu,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, we're down to discuss iPads for selectmen.
Yes, sir.
You sure you don't want to hold that for next week? It's getting late, you know.
Yeah.
I think you should get them, because I think you should get rid of all that paperwork.
Thank you. Chuck, yeah.
iPads, you think?
Table that, Jim.
You want to table that till next week?
Sure. I don't think another week's gonna matter, but, I know, Chuck, I don't think, if we did vote to get them, does it have to go in front of the people to be voted for in time? No, we can afford it. I think you said, what, $2,800?
$2,800, that includes the iPads and updating the wireless router.
I kind of like paper myself, don't you? I love paper.
Can you,
Mary, do you like paper?
I mean,
will you be able
Staying
to,
out of this.
will you be able to store documents on it?
oh, sure.
Right? I think it's a no-brainer. What do you want to talk about?
I'll bring in one of my old crank phonographs next week so you can see what old technology looks like.
Chuck, I agree with you. To get rid of most of the paper up here would be a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's just too much paper, and it's easier for you guys to go on your iPad and read from it, you know.
Where we can actually store and save documents as well.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
But, like me, I have to wear glasses to see where the words are, That's easier on an iPad.
Yeah,
So,
Make the letters bigger.
sure. Okay,
So-
you're going to table that till next week?
why?
She says table it. Okay.
All right, we'll table it.
You want to do license all in one, or?
One-day liquor licenses, let me just name them and we could take one vote. For Camp Kawani, Gail Fusco from Hanson, that'd be Friday, April 1st, 7 to 11 p.m. for a fundraiser. Elisa Madera, Hanson, Saturday, April 2nd, 4:30 to 9:30 p.m., baby shower. Daniela Nunes, Dorchester, Saturday, April 9th, 4 to 8 p.m., baby shower. Frank McGuire, Rockland, Saturday, April 16th, 4 to 8 p.m., club dinner. Can I have a motion to
So moved.
approve all four?
Second.
Motion and a second
Jim
to
was
approve
first.
all four one-day liquor licenses at Camp Kawani. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Committee reports.
They haven't met yet.
Good. Ron Ponson.
Okay, I'm sorry Mr. Campbell left because he's waiting around for an answer to that
Ron Ponson.
Monpont and the whole thing with the dam down there. Whether you're going to take the dam down so that the water flows through there and it doesn't stagnate anymore.
Well, he's gonna have to wait till they meet.
You have
Let's
to wait till
move
the
to
next meeting,
next.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Indian Head McQuon School Priority Repair Committee. We were supposed to meet this Thursday night, but seeing that we won't have the finals of the capital improvement report finalized until next Tuesday, I would imagine that we'll reschedule that for next Thursday. Would that be okay, Helen? Okay, Helen agrees with me. A Highway Building Committee, I'm gonna turn to Mr. Scott for that.
We did not meet this week. We have a meeting scheduled for Monday night, the 4th. We're looking towards finalizing some figures to put on the article for that project.
Okay. The final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
We're meeting again tomorrow at 8:30 at the hospital, and also there's a meeting at 4 o'clock at the police station.
You're actually going to the hospital? You're gonna meet at the hospital?
At 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Wow.
Pretty good.
That was on the upcoming
Don't go inside,
meetings.
Don.
We did it last week, too.
You're not gonna go inside, though?
We can't get inside. We haven't got a key to break the padlock.
Okay.
Where, at the Plymouth County Hospital?
Plymouth County
Jerry has-
Hospital.
I think Jerry has a key.
You have a key to that?
Jerry Thompson.
No?
Jerry does. I think Jerry has.
I
a
can
key.
see some places where they possibly do that. But I wasn't about to crawl on my belly to get underneath the fence.
She's very quiet. She's isolated.
Okay. Executive session time, Mary?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of conducting strategy sessions in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel, to conduct collective bargaining session or contract negotiation with non-union personnel, town administrator, and police union.
Yeah, no, they are handy.
I want to thank Mr. Lundell for his attendance, Mr. and Mrs. Lundell, Mr. Egan, thanks for coming. And, yes. And Mrs. Vest.
There's nothing in here that says.
Have a good night.
There's nothing in
So
there.
moved.
There's nothing that says anything in here on the ballot.
That's a bunch of baloney from Toomey. Just so they could say.
Tracy,
Oh, that's.
Tell Tracy about
come here for a
that.
second,
No,
please.
no, you're fine. There's more what we want him to do than who it is.
Yes, okay.
I said so moved.
So moved, seconded. You in
Yes.
favor? You in favor? I'm in favor, you in favor?
Yes.
Kenny's in
Yes,
favor,
I'm in
we're in.
favor.
It's only relevant to.
We'll only
town
be
meeting.
coming out of executive session
What we
to
talked about here was the
adjourn
ballot.
and into public session.
Okay.